Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Nikki D back again today with a new video, and long time no talk. I feel like I'm always saying that every time I make a video, but as some of you may know, I did have a baby in July, and so I actually just recently went back to work. I was off for almost 4 months, so my baby is 4 months old yesterday, and so just working full time and being a new mom is, you know, time consuming, which is why I've been on such a hiatus since the last video, but I'm going to try to record this hopefully today. I am off today. My little baby is in her jumper over there, so we'll see how long I can get through this before I need to tend to her. But she just ate, so I'm hoping that buys me some time. Anyway, I know some of you were interested in hearing about my labor and delivery story since it took a complete 180 and was kind of dramatic, and so I thought that I would share that with you guys and just let you know what happened. I do have some footage from the morning that I did deliver her, so I will include that as well, and let's jump right in. I want to just preface the video with a little bit of background information. Up until I was about 35 weeks pregnant, I had had a really healthy, really great pregnancy. I did have some pregnancy discomforts and just normal pregnancy symptoms. Other than that, my pregnancy had been really healthy and nothing out of the ordinary until about the 34 to 35 week mark. And I actually, for those of you who may or may not know, I might have mentioned it in a previous video, but my goal was to have a natural, drug-free birth. I was actually really excited when they told me that Mia, who is my baby, was in the right position, so she was head down. My older sister could not have a natural birth because my niece was breached, and for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that her head was up, as almost kind of like how I am right now. My head's up here, my feet are down here. When you give birth, they actually need to be upside down, so the head needs to be facing down, feet up. And so I was really excited when they told me she was in the correct position because, like I said, I really wanted to have a all-natural, drug-free vaginal birth. I had taken classes with my husband. I had gotten a labor ball. I was mentally prepared. I had all kinds of birthing teas and different playlists on my phone ready to go for when I was in the delivery room. We bought a diffuser to help me with all the scents that I like. So I was fully in the mindset and focused, and my goal was to do it natural and drug-free. Not to shame those of you who choose to have a, you know, medicated birth or medicated medical intervention during your labors. I just wanted to do this because I wanted to see if I could do it. At my 34th or 35th week appointment, I started having protein in my urine, and my blood pressure had gotten really, really high. And so every time I would go to my appointments, you know, they make you pee in a cup, they take your blood pressure, and then I see the doctor. And every time I would have my blood pressure taken with the nurse, it would be really, really elevated. I normally am someone with normal to low blood pressure. It's usually like 120 over 80, 120 over 68. I usually have a very normal to low blood pressure. My blood pressure was like 170 over 100 something, 180 over 100 something, 140s, 150s over 100 something. So not only generally high, but high for me, for someone, you know, with typically low blood pressure. So when that would happen, they would have me see my doctor. He would take my blood pressure with me laying down because he said the pregnancy can elevate the blood pressure, you know, to be taken normally. I'd never heard of this. So he would have me lay down, he would take my blood pressure, and it would be a little lower, and then he would send me for blood work to check my liver enzymes. No, that was it. And that occurred for pretty much every week from the 34th to 35th week, except that as the weeks progressed, I started having a lot of swelling in my legs, in my ankles, my feet, my hands, and the amount of protein in my urine kept increasing also. So they said that I was having signs of preeclampsia, which I guess there's not a lot of information about. All I know is that it has something to do with swelling, high blood pressure, liver enzymes. It can obviously negatively affect you and your baby during pregnancy. Mia! Boingy boingy! And a lot of my friends who had the signs of preeclampsia said that typically they just deliver you earlier. Well, alongside with that, at my checkups, I hadn't been dilating. She hadn't descended into my pelvis area. So my doctor was telling me early on that if she didn't descend and I didn't start dilating, by week 40 that they were going to schedule me for a C-section. And, you know, I was disappointed about that because I've been preparing for a natural birth. But obviously it was in the best interest of me and the baby, because they said that even if they were to induce me, if she hadn't descended down into my pelvic area, that she most likely wasn't going to. And so it was just in the best interest for everyone to prevent me from a long labor that would, you know, end up in a C-section anyway, and just for everyone involved, the baby's health, to just have a C-section. At my 40th appointment, I went in, the nurse took my blood pressure, and it was 180 over 100 and something. And the nurse even said to me, "You might be having your baby today." And I was really obviously concerned. And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, your blood pressure is really high. You have +4 protein in your urine, and, you know, they may schedule you for a C-section today. He has me lay down, takes my blood pressure. Again, it went down to something lower, but it was still a high blood pressure. Tells me that he's going to send me for more blood work and a 24-hour urine test. Now, at this point, I was concerned because I'm thinking, he had told me that if she hadn't descended, I hadn't dilated, which by the 40th appointment I hadn't, that he was going to schedule me for a C-section. But on top of that, I had been having for the last 5 to 6 weeks high blood pressure, swelling really, really badly, just all the signs of preeclampsia. So when he, at that appointment, did not send me or schedule me for a C-section, but instead was sending me home and for more tests, I was a little concerned.
Sorry guys, I also forgot to mention that at some point between the 34th week and the 40th week of my pregnancy, because I had been having such bad swelling and high blood pressure, they had actually taken me out of work for an entire week. So I was really confused as to why on my 40th week appointment he was sending me for more tests and not scheduling me for the C-section, considering that I had had these symptoms ongoing for 5 to 6 weeks, and at one point so bad they felt the need to pull me out of work for a week.
But I trusted him. He's my doctor, so that's what I did. I went immediately for blood work, and they gave me a jug at the lab. I was supposed to pee in it for 24 hours continuously, and I guess we were going to take it from there. My appointment was on a Tuesday. Yes, my appointment was on a Tuesday. My appointment was on her due date, and her due date was July 10th. He told me he was going to have me come back that Monday, which I was like, I was concerned about that. So he said, "Okay, we'll come in on Friday." So I said, okay. They wanted to have enough time for the test to come back and everything. Tuesday night, I come home with my husband. We get Chinese. I go to bed around 9:30. Around 11 o'clock, I wake up. And the other thing they told me with the signs of preeclampsia was that if I ever had a pounding headache, not just a dull headache, blurred vision, or upper GI pain, to call them immediately, because that would be a really, really bad sign. Like I said, I wake up at 11 o'clock. I was having pressure pain in my GI. And I thought, maybe do I have to go to the bathroom? Is this gas? So I get up, I try to go to the bathroom, try to relieve it. I go back to bed. By 2 in the morning, I'm waking up now with not only this pressure, but I'm also having really bad back pains. So I wake up my husband and I tell him, could you rub my back? I'm really sorry, but I'm not feeling good. My back's killing me. So he starts rubbing my back. I'm rocking on all fours on the bed. I'm trying to just relieve this pain. I don't know if I'm having, if this is labor pain or what's going on. By 4 or 5 in the morning, I'm now having contractions. I'm having back pain, and I'm starting to have pain, sharp pain in my GI. And I told my husband that in the morning I was going to call the doctors and let them know what was going on. What are you doing over there? Are you bouncing? Hi. So he tells me, okay, yeah, call them in the morning and let them know what's going on. By 6 in the morning, the pain was so bad, I woke him up again. He said, "Nicole, do they have an emergency line? You better call." So I was like, you're right, I'm going to call. So I called the emergency line at 6 in the morning on Wednesday, July 11th, and they're telling me, well, why don't you wait an hour, try to time the contractions? And I was like, look, listen, I don't even know where the contraction is stopping and ending. I'm having back pain too. On top of that, you know, been having signs of preeclampsia, and I'm having GI pain, which they told me, you know, to let them know if I ever had. So she says, okay, go right to the hospital. I'll call and let them know you're coming. Now, again, with the preeclampsia, I'm not exactly sure what this is, and even my doctor couldn't give me a ton of information. A lot's not known about it. They suspected something to do with your placenta kind of going bad, I guess, and no longer supporting the baby the way it needs to. But it can affect the baby's blood pressure, and both of you can, you know, there can be severe results. So we get in the car, and I will insert the footage of that I recorded the morning of and let you guys see that. It is 6:50 in the morning on 7/11. It's a Wednesday. I have been experiencing bad cramping pains and back pains all night, probably from 11 or 12 at night. So we called the after hours doctor. Sorry for my breathing. 9 months pregnant here. And they wanted me to originally wait to see if these are contractions, but I'm concerned about the preeclampsia because my pain is going from like underneath my boobies, top of my bump, all the way down to the bottom, and I'm having back pain. So they said go to the hospital, and so that's what we're doing. I just want to make sure everything's okay and that it's not preeclampsia related. AJ's loading up the car, and then we're going to go to the hospital and possibly have a baby today, so we'll see. I'm a little emotional because I'm a little scared. I just want to make sure she's okay and everything's good. So that is what we're doing, and we'll let you guys know what happens. So as you can tell, I was upset. I was scared. I wanted to make sure she was okay. We got to the hospital. Immediately, they take my blood pressure, and it's like 170 something, over 100 and something. They hooked me up to some monitors. I'm not allowed to eat or drink. I was very dehydrated. I want to say this is probably like 7 or 8 in the morning now. They hooked me up to the monitors. They have the belly belt on to monitor her vitals. You're okay. One second. I'm here with Mia now because she was getting upset. Hi. So, like I said, they hooked her up to check her vitals too. And they left the room and said they would be right back. While they were gone, I'm laying on the bed and we're watching the monitor, and we start to see that her heartbeat is decreasing until it eventually like falls off, you know, the chart completely. We see no heartbeat, heart rate.
Don't worry about it. It might be because it's running like crap. It just seems a little.
And her blood pressure was falling as well. So after, you know, her heartbeat falls completely off, I say to my husband, you know, what, like, her heartbeat's gone. You know, do you think this is something wrong? Do you think it's okay? And he's like, she probably just moved away from the monitor. You know, I'm sure it's fine. And literally a second later, 3 doctors or nurses come rushing in. They have a portable sonogram machine. They're squirting stuff all over my belly. They're, you know, looking for something on the monitor. They're moving the band around, trying to, I'm assuming, find her heartbeat again. And it was like they weren't saying anything to me. They were working really feverishly, and they seemed like, you know, worried. And so I started crying, and I'm like, oh my God, like, is my baby okay? Is my baby okay? And they find her heartbeat again, and they say, okay, she's okay. We found her heartbeat. Yeah, everything's fine, but you're, you know, probably definitely going to have a C-section today. And they kept telling me, actually, from the moment I came in and they took my blood pressure, they're like, wow, it's a really good thing you came in today. Like, it's a really good thing you came in when you did. So my doctor was already there. They told me, yeah, you're having you're gonna have a C-section, an emergency C-section. So literally, like, right after that, they had me going into another room. They were, you know, trying to get my blood. I hadn't drank, you know, anything for hours and hours and hours since, you know, 9 or 10 the night before. So I was pretty dehydrated. They were all having a hard time getting my blood, and I had a million people pricking me. It was very uncomfortable. It was very painful. I actually have a scar on this wrist. That little dot, if you can see, is from, I had a IV in here. They did it on my hand. I had to have a catheter, and I did not have a spinal or anything before the catheter was given. By that time, I was pretty upset because I was scared. I was sick of being pricked and prodded, and I had asked the woman who was giving me the catheter if she, you know, is this going to hurt? Have you ever had one? And she was like, actually, I've never had one. So, you know, that wasn't real comforting. And when they gave me the catheter, I like shot up the bed. I was crying. It was so painful and uncomfortable. And then they took me to the operating room or the delivery room. I had a spinal. Yes, because usually you would get an epidural, I believe, if you were having a regular birth, but you just, you know, didn't want to be able to feel anything. For me, I had to have a spinal because I was having a full-on C-section. I was on the table. I couldn't see anything. They had a big blue sheet in front of me. My husband was allowed to come in and sit next to me. And I want to say the C-section itself took maybe only 15 minutes. I was shaking a lot afterwards because of they told me it was because of the spinal. I was like uncontrollably shaking. They put a warm towel on me. And then after that, I had, you know, after she was delivered by 10:30 in the morning, 10:33. After that, I went into recovery, and I was put on magnesium because my blood pressure was still really, really high. Originally, they had me on just blood pressure oral medication, which was not doing anything for me. My resting blood pressure was still in the 180s, they said. So, like, while I was sleeping, I had really, really high blood pressure, which is, you know, very concerning because I could have stroked. I could have had a heart attack. If we hadn't come in, she could have died. It was like a really scary, traumatizing situation. And the magnesium, which I was having, you know, intravenously, was making me feel totally cuckoo bananas. I felt like I was hallucinating. I was really, really hot. I had a fever. They kept telling me I had to get my, you know, my fever down, my blood pressure down. I couldn't take care of her if I wanted to, so thank God my husband was, you know, there. He was able to stay with me. It was very painful, you know, coming out of the C-section, I was stapled. I couldn't eat or drink even after the surgery for like a day or a day and a half, so I hadn't eaten in like 2 days. I felt way better once they took me off the magnesium. They ended up telling me that what I had was called Preeclampsia with HELLP, which stands for hemoglobin elevated liver platelets, I believe, which is a really severe, I guess, issue to have. It's like the worst type of preeclampsia, I guess, that you can have. I wasn't, you know, I'd never even heard of it until, you know, they told me that that's what had happened. But yeah, it was really, really scary. And like I said, for like the first day or two, I couldn't even take care of her because I just felt like out of my head, and I wasn't feeling good at all. I felt like I was drunk. Like I could barely even open my eyes. I was just exhausted, and the magnesium was making me feel really bad. But luckily, she was okay. I was okay. She's doing great. Just total 180 from what I thought was going to happen. Like I said, I mean, I really was planning on a natural drug-free birth, and then I ended up having the complete opposite, which is the most like medical intervention you can have is a C-section. But it all was for the best, and what's the matter? We're both doing good.
I forgot to mention that even though I was really not feeling well, I did still manage to breastfeed and continued to do so after I left the hospital. Also, my blood pressure has returned to normal. I want to say it returned to normal within about definitely 2 weeks after I had gotten home. And also, I forgot to mention that during one of my first visits back with my OBGYN after delivery, I saw the nurse that took my blood pressure the day of the 10th when it was really high, and she told me she couldn't believe that the doctor let me leave. She was looking at my books, and she even said herself I had all the symptoms of preeclampsia. She couldn't believe when she saw me scheduling another appointment and leaving that day. She said for sure I should have been scheduled for a C-section or had a C-section that day.
But I just wanted to film this and let you guys know about my labor and delivery story. Anyway, we're doing good, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section below in case I forgot to mention anything. And I will see you guys in my next video. Say bye, Mia. Bye, guys.